So after not working for 20 years, I feel like I've got some experience. I've got some experience what's possible and really what's not possible. Um, and so this is kind of like a little on my feelings around laws and taxes and things like this. Basically, government instigated policies, laws and regulations and rules and licensing and things like this. Because if we're free of all those things, we don't have to keep paying extortionate amounts of money for things. We don't have to, like we can build a house. I've got some experience with building, and I've experienced, a group of people coming together and for a period of time, not a very long period of time, can build a house, can build an amazing house, and not expensive, just using natural timbers and whatever. But it doesn't have to be a massive loan from a bank that you're going to be paying off for 20, 30 years because it's so regulated and controlled, and the prices of everything are just so extortionate that it's actually impossible to own a home nowadays without huge amounts of money and huge commitments to work to pay off these loans. So, I stopped working more than 20 years ago, and I had bought my own house at that time, and I'd paid cash for it because I was in a position where I could. I was working as a photographer, and so I had the money, and I was living in Cape Town as well. And at that time, the money I was earning, I could buy a house for cash. And then I had no more rent to pay. I had nothing more to pay. I just paid my monthly, municipal bills, which weren't, for water and refuse and things like that. And then obviously I had all my other bills, electricity and things like that. But just that process of freeing me up from paying rent or freeing me up from paying a mortgage gave me the ability to live 20 years and more now where I haven't worked. I haven't had the need to work. I still don't have the need to work. I still have need for money, so I appreciate when money comes in, and it does come in through me doing things, but I'm not working for a living anymore. And I've never believed in the laws, and I've never believed in the policies of governments. I always thought, they don't make sense. They're unfair, and you can see they're unfair. Like the rich do not pay taxes, the kings and the queens do not pay taxes. There's just an unfairness that's quite evident, and I think like everyone in the world, pretty much everyone in the world is aware of this now. That the system is rigged. It's rigged so that the poor are always kept in debt and in poverty and in need to survive, and the rich are just getting richer and richer and richer. And this is all being maintained by laws which are made through governments, because a politician or a government, his job is to make laws. That's what they do. They create laws and they impose those laws, and they use forces like police forces and armies and things like that to impose those laws under threat of violence or imprisonment or fines. So these are all, this is an insane system that we've created for ourselves. And the only reason we're doing this is because we do believe that the universe is against us. We do believe that we are against each other, that everything outside the body is basically we're in defense of. So the body's a defense system. It's in defense of the universe. It's in defense of microorganisms and germs and viruses as a defense system. The skin is a defense system. The skin is a barrier defending itself against everything outside itself. So, it'd be good to just get an understanding, a clarity on what the ego is, because we use the term ego a lot now as a form of reference to an identity, a false identity that we have about ourselves. And that identity is related to the body. When we believe we are the body, we think a certain way. And so, because we're not the body, because we are actually non-physical beings, and we're beings that actually don't have bodies. We are free beings actually. So this experience in the body is not a freeing experience. It's an isolated experience of containment. We are contained within the body, or our consciousness is contained within the body, and it's imprisoned within the body when it's under the direction of the ego. And the ego is the separate mind, or the mind that believes in separation. The mind cannot separate, but it can believe in separation. And when we're following those beliefs, we're seeing ourselves through the eyes of deception, through the eyes of illusions. They're just not real. It's just not true about us. And this is really the meaning of evil and the meaning of the devil. We don't use the word devil anymore. We use the word evil. We use the word ego, but they're the same thing. It's the deceiver, the ability to be deceived and to deceive ourselves. And this is what we're doing when we're thinking from the level of mind which is egoic. And so we're seeing things outside ourselves, and we're seeing each other as separate beings outside ourselves. And this is what the eyes do, this is what the senses do. It relays everything that is outside us, and it relays to us within the mind, an external world. Not realizing, we don't realize that we are part of that external world, and that this is a oneness that's happening. It's very profound, and it's not understandable at the egoic level. But when we're seeing ourselves through the ego, we're literally seeing ourselves as evil would see us. So we're seeing ourselves in hell. We're seeing ourselves as the devil would see us. There is no devil. The devil is a thought. It's a belief system in the mind. It's even the symbology of the devil, of fallen angel. Really he's just fallen into darkness. He's fallen out of light. He's fallen into darkness. He's fallen into illusion. He's fallen into deception. And that is what we are. We have done that. We've fallen into forgetfulness, into darkness, into illusions and deception. And we've created a world for ourselves which is closer to hell. And all the time we're seeing ourselves there, we are thinking insanely. So we've got to undo this. We've got to undo this thought system and this belief system. And this is a slow process that takes a little bit of time, but it uses common sense and it uses reason. So that the world is very unreasonable. You can look at the world and it's highly confusing. The policies, the laws, the rules, the governments, the police forces, the wars, the armies, the guns, the bombs, all the laws we placed on each other. The fact we can't even have our own house, we can't even build our own home. We can't even free ourselves to we have to conform, we have to have passports, we can't travel freely, we have to make money, and we have to do what we're told. Everything is about being controlled. We're controlled because this is what the ego does. It needs to control. It's a control mechanism. It needs to control because it's insane. The thinking of the ego, when you think from the level of the ego, you're thinking insanely. I'm not saying this is bad or good. It's just deception. It's an illusion. So all these laws that we've made against each other, that we can't build our own house. We have to borrow all this money to be able to build a house. And if we do build our own house, it's still going to cost us a fortune. And we have to pay it off over many, many years of paying it off to a bank who charges interest, so that the amount you're paying off is 10 times more than what you borrowed. And all these systems are geared to keep us in debt, keep us controlled, keep us limited, keep us chained, really, enslaved. You know, this is really the meaning of slavery. We're like slaves in this world. We're only doing this because we think that the world is against us, or we think we are against each other. You know, the Russians are against us, or, you know, someone else is against us, or the Chinese are against us, or there's always someone against us, or something against us, and it's always outside of us, you know, because we're literally seeing everything separate from each other. We're not seeing everything joined. So we don't realise that our brother in China, he thinks just the same as we think. You know, he has the same thoughts, he has the same needs, he has the same desires. And our friend, you know, our brother in Russia, he has the same thoughts, he has the same needs, he has the same desires. He has the same body, he has the same blood, he has the same eyes and ears, and, you know, he has the same everything. You know, and we, you know, when you're trapped in this hellish state of seeing the world, you literally cannot see everyone as they truly are. You can only see them as you imagine them to be, you know, because you believe that everything is against us, or everything is against you, because you believe that you know, you have enemies. You believe that the Russians are your enemies, or the Chinese are your enemies, or the Pakistanis are your enemies, or the Afghanis are your enemies, or the Iranians are your enemies, or the Jews are your enemies, you know, or the Islam is your enemy. We don't see that actually we're all just the oneness. We're all just the oneness. So the reason we don't see each other as the same, and we don't see the goodness in each other, but we actually see only the badness in each other, is because we believe at the level of the ego that we're all separate identities. You know, we are all bodies, and bodies must defend. The ego must defend itself because it is a body identity, and therefore it must defend itself from everything outside itself, because ultimately it's defending its reality, its false reality. And all the time we're thinking at the level of the ego, we are protecting ourselves from each other. So we're making laws against each other, we're making rules against each other. We have police forces to defend those laws and those rules. We have justice systems which are, you know, defending those laws and those rules, and believing that they are right and they're protecting us and they're keeping us safe. But none of this is true. You don't need these laws and these rules. You know, when you stop seeing the world through the ego, you actually start realizing that people are amazing. People are incredibly kind and gentle and helpful, and they will do the best for you if you give them that opportunity. You know, like I watch sometimes, you know, the road rage and the anger of certain people, especially in certain nations. You know, just the violent thoughts they have, the you know, the hatred. There's so much hatred in people at the moment because we're confused. We are confused, and, you know, the whole society is just totally confusing, and basically we're scared. You know, people are in fear, and so the way to project that fear outside themselves, to get rid of that fear, is they think they're just going to dump it on somebody else. They're going to blame somebody else for the fear, for the confusion. And this is what's happening, you know. And we're going to blame the Russians, and we're going to make a war against the Russians, or we're going to blame the Chinese, and we're going to make a war against the Chinese. And this is all part of a controlled implosion. I think that's what's happening, you know, the more we try and control each other, the more laws we put on each other, the more rules we put on each other, the more the society implodes, because we're not actually meant to be controlled. We are actually free beings. That is the state of our true mind. That's the state of our true consciousness. The egoic mind is a state of mind which is limited and insane and imprisoned, basically. And therefore it seeks for everything outside itself. It seeks for money and gold, and it seeks for power. All as a way of protecting itself. But when you start to see yourself free, and you start to see yourself as you are in reality, you recognize that the ego and all the systems that it has in place, you don't need any of them. So when I had this ability, or I've had this ability to live very free now for more than 20 years with not working, and a lot of it, I personally think was the fact that I had my own house. I didn't have to pay rent, I didn't have to pay mortgage, so it freed me from all the burdens of having to make money to do that. And I don't follow all the laws and the rules. I do what I feel is right and what is just. I'm not concerned with other people's rules and laws. I don't go out of my way to break laws and rules, but I think when you are seeing people as the same, you don't need rules and laws, because you see everyone as valuable. So you're not going to hurt anyone. You're not going to do anything against anyone. You're not going to steal from anyone. You're not going to take what from someone so that you can have more. So as you become more free, you realize that all these rules and these laws are basically imprisoning us into a hell state, they're keeping us enslaved, and all the time we keep choosing thoughts of hatred and choosing thoughts of we're not even choosing the thoughts of hatred. We choose to believe in them. I think it's good to recognize that thoughts aren't actually our thoughts. They're just thoughts that are in the cosmos. And we pick up on those thoughts depending on our level of consciousness. And so when these thoughts come, if we are completely confused about ourselves and we are in a place of fear because we are confused and we don't know who we are, we can believe in thoughts that aren't true. But as you become more clear about yourself and what your reality really is, and you stop identifying with the body reality and the egoic reality, those thoughts can still come, but you don't choose them anymore. You don't choose to believe in them. So you recognize them, the anger comes, the hatred comes, the fear comes, but it doesn't stay because you do not choose to hold on to it. You do not feed it. You do not give it any power. So the thought just disappears. And so, not working for 20 years has really given me a lot of freedom to question reality, to question the reality of this world, to question the laws and the rules and the police forces and the governments and the justice system and all those kind of things. And like at the moment, I'm very okay with not having any of them. I keep away from all of them. I have nothing to do with any of them unless like at the moment we've just travelled and we need documents and we need permission and we need passports and we need bits of papers and visas and all those kind of things, and so we jump through those loops, but even then, like what happens is the people you meet in the governments, they're just amazing. They help you. They go out of their way to help you. And I'm absolutely sure it's because they see the light in you, and it brings out their own light. When you go into places and you're angry and you're frustrated and you're hateful and people pick that up. They respond likewise. But if you go in there with a shining light and full of peace and full of gentleness and full of love and care and you value the person, they respond in like, they respond exactly the same way, because at the fundamental level they are no different. They actually still have those same abilities. They might be in an insane system and they might be working for insane beliefs, or they might be lost and confused themselves, but they still are themselves. They still have not. You cannot lose that. You cannot lose who you truly are. You are that forever. That's not going to change. You can become confused within a dream or within an illusion or in a false reality, or you can believe things about yourself that aren't true, but the truth always remains. The truth is unaffected by illusion. The truth of who you are is unaffected by any illusions or deception. So in a way, it doesn't even matter what you do in this world, even if you think you've done horrific things and they're wrong and you've hurt people, it doesn't matter in the end, because all those things disappear once you recognize the truth of who you are and you recognize the truth of who everyone else is. All those, beliefs in sin, which is just the meaning of a gap between two places, 2 points, all those disappear. Sin disappears once you recognize that in reality there is no sin. In reality there is just a oneness. And I mentioned earlier on about the meaning of sin. It's a space between 2 points. When you believe they're in that space, when you believe in that gap, when you believe that you are separate, then you are in a place of deception. And from that state of consciousness, you do things that you wouldn't normally do. You respond in ways which you wouldn't normally respond in. And you're doing it because you're not seeing. You are blind. You are in darkness. You're not thinking sanely. Bring those 2 points together and create a oneness, and there is only love. So you respond out of love. There is only value. You respond out of value. There is only abundance. You respond from a place of abundance. There is only caring. So you respond from a place of care. So all these laws and these rules that we make, they are just keeping us apart. They're keeping nations apart. They're keeping people apart. They're keeping us imprisoned in chains, fined. They're keeping everybody in fear. They're keeping everyone in fear. And even the people that are, the politicians or the rich or the powerful, whatever, they don't know what they're doing. They really don't. They think they're doing the best, because we all think we're doing the best at some level, and we all think we're doing right at some level. So you might be thinking insanely, but all those things can be corrected. All those thoughts can be corrected. Nothing is lost forever. The truth is never lost forever. It might be lost in time for a while, but the truth remains, and it will be found, and it will be discovered again, and we will know the truth about who we are eventually at some point. So, why not do it now? Why not take the time and the effort to, really study the meaning of who we are and the meaning of the world and what reality really is, not this insane reality that we've created for ourselves. And all the time we're busy and we're chasing money and we're chasing objects and we're chasing, survival mode, we cannot even think about those kind of things because we're just too busy, trying to survive. And this is what, all these laws and these rules and these, they keep us in that position of need, of desperation, of survival. We don't need these laws, we don't need these rules. We are at a time when all this stuff can be questioned now, and it can be undone. We can undo it. because at a fundamental level, at a level of truth, we are all the same, and we are amazing, amazing, amazing beings. And recognize that in yourself, you will recognize it in everyone else, and everyone will respond likewise. And that's why you don't need to work for a living, because everything comes to you. Everything comes to you. You need money, money will appear somehow. You need a car will appear somehow. You need a house will appear. You need a home will appear. You need something, it will appear. And it will appear in the most beautiful and miraculous way, and unexpected as well. This is the other thing about not working for a living. It frees you up to wait. You have the ability to wait and be patient. You don't have all these time limits. Needs to be, bills need to be paid by next week, or this needs to be done by tomorrow, or you free yourself from all those things. And the universe is miraculous, and people are part of that miraculous. People are miraculous. And freeing yourself from that working environment and that busy environment gives you more time to enjoy people, enjoy life, enjoy nature, enjoy the world, and be free.